Hey guys, Philosopher here, and today I have a pretty special video for you guys. The Age of Apocalypse that was announced a month ago told us about these Scourge events, right? That this was going to be how we were going to get the legendary horsemen. They showed us some video, screenshots here of what a run would look like. It looks a little bit like a Dark Dimension. And they show you these modifiers that you can use that will increase the difficulty. And then we didn't hear much else, right? They didn't give us a lot of specifics. And then we got to when they announced the first horseman, which was Morgan Le Fay. They gave us a little bit more detail, but it wasn't much, right? All they told us was, what Scourge difficulties 1 through 5 have. And then they say 6 and beyond will require Web Warriors or Dark Hunters just for missions 5 and 10, but they don't tell us what's required for the other missions. They don't really tell us a lot about about what we're going to need in the Scourge events, what's required, which characters you should build. And to be, they gave us these difficulty levels, by the way, that go all the way up to gear tier 19, which is, many gear tiers above what's in the game. And I think a lot of people are just confused about what this means, what you should build, what you should do. And I got to tell you, I'm one of them. I've been saying on videos for a while, I don't know what to recommend that people build. Because who knows what you need on, for example, we know what you need on nodes 5 and 10, but we don't know what you need on node 3, 4, 6, 7, and so on. And we don't know what other types of requirements or needs you're going to have. For example, for these different Scourge modifiers, right? This stuff here. What are the characters you really need for those? And thanks to, I will tell you, I've been saying this for a while, and the devs, by the way, have not responded at all. I've made direct DM requests to developers about this. I've obviously made a lot of videos requesting this. Gotten no response. But my Discord is full of really smart people who are involved in the game. Lots of great discussions on the Discord. And one of those folks is Doom Bunny. And so I want to give major props out to Doom Bunny, who is really good at figuring out data mines. He's put a lot of time into going into the data mines of this latest upload into the game. And there's tons and tons of information about the Scourge event. I'm going to walk through it today because there's a lot there. Obviously, data mine subject to change, but usually ends up that the data mine is accurate, and there's going to be some things here you'll see that can help us see that this is accurate. So let me show you, for example. Here's the first thing. Here are the requirements for each node. So if you look, node 1 is just hero, node 2 hero, node 3 global, node 4 is global, node 5 city, and then up and through difficulty 4, then you goes above that. You need Web Warriors or Dark Hunters. 6 is villain, 7's villain, 8 cosmic, 9 cosmic, 10 city. Then 10 you need Web Warriors or Dark Hunters above difficulty 6. Now, you see here, this is where it kicks in. So in other words, before difficulty 4, it's just totally unrestricted. So if you're running difficulty 3, you can just use any set of 5 characters. Your best team, let's say your Infinity Watch team, can all be used here, even though there's a villain on the team. Once you hit difficulty 4, you have to do just heroes. I will just say these requirements are not bad at all. Obviously, who knows what they'll do for the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th horsemen. They may make them a lot harder. But this seems to me like a way of getting us to buy into the Scourge system. Remember how they made green ISO so easy to get? I think this is definitely their way of easing us into the Scourge system, so to speak. And this isn't that hard. And to give you a sense of what this looks like in the data mines, I'm just going to show you here. Because he showed me, because I was a little skeptical of all this. But for example, the way it'll look is, no restriction for difficulty 1, then for difficulty 2, it's cosmic, and so on. That gives you a sense of what it looks like. So it's no restriction, on the first difficulty. And so if you look for this, for this mission, that's sort of how it's listed on here. All right, let's talk about something else. So first of all, what I will just say about this is, if this turns out to be the case, which it's looking good, I don't think you're going to need to worry too much unless you're a very new player about building out for the other nodes, right? Because I think everyone's going to have some city characters, global hero. If you're running Doom 1 or Doom 2 raids, for example, you're going to have, most likely have for city, you're going to have Cloak Dagger built up, for example, right? I'm sure a lot of players are, going to have Cosmic. That's not hard to get. And heroes and villains, right? There's tons of both of those, even though some of our villains are getting a little long in the tooth in this game because there's so many heroes that came out this year. So I think these are broad enough that it's not going to be a stumbling block for most players. But I do want to show you, we did get from the Datamines, Doom Buddy found some other information that I wanted to share with you. First of all, he did show that the suggested gear in the game is consistent with the blog. So there's no hard coding. He said no hard coding regarding gear, no hard coding regarding ISO. There's no other requirements in the Datamine at all. It looks like it's just as they said with the suggested gear. And then he also said something that I thought was interesting, is when we look at this, and he was showing me in the files, it actually, this Scourge system is built using the code that they have for Dark Dimension. So one thing we don't know is whether or not Dark Dimension abilities are going to be used in this node. So for example, characters, not just like, let's say, Icarus and Cersei, but also like Ghost, who have Dark Dimension only abilities, whether or not those abilities are going to work in this game mode. The other thing that we discovered, though, is really fantastic. So credit once again to Doom Bunny for this. We got all the Scourge stuff here. So let me go through this now, because this is really something. So these are all the difficulty sliders, and I'm going to show you what these are. When I mean difficulty sliders, I'm sorry. They're like, they say, effects called Scourges. A variety, it says here in the blog, the twist is that players can also activate a variety of effects called Scourges that will either bolster enemy teams or cause detrimental effects to your teams. And they show you some here. Enemies gain 10% health. When a player character gains stealth, they also gain taunt. Summon enemy minions gain 20 health, and so on. So if you look here, some of the ones that they show in the blog are here. So for example, when a player character gains stealth, they gain taunt. That's right here on the list. So I'm going to read through all of them. There's one that's cut off here because it's at the top. You might be able to see it actually if I zoom way in here. Yeah, when an enemy drops below whatever percent health, it procs death proof. Okay, they gain death proof. So it looks to me like 50%. So that one, I think just purely makes the enemies a little bit harder to kill. I don't think you'll need any specific characters for that, although characters that do kind of different waves of damage are, kind of like how Black Order did, right? Where they did, Thanos and Ebony Maw would do waves of damage. That I think those characters who do that sort of thing, multi hits are better for that. Dark Resolve, on ally death, enemies gain defense up. Just making it a little harder, meaning that you're going to have a little more sustainability on your team or buff removal. Back in the fight, when an enemy is healed, they also gain deflect. Another thing, just making the enemy harder to kill. Fool me twice, when an enemy takes damage, they gain speed up 4, and then it says, it looks like 4, and then it's just got a blank turns. I can't make sense of that. I probably need him on this video to explain that. Strong opener, on spawn enemies gain immunity, which is, which frankly that's going to hurt certain teams more than others, right? In other words, a character that can just flip those to disrupted, right? That doesn't matter. Character that doesn't really rely on debuffs, it's not a big deal, right? There's some characters that hit harder when the other team's buffed. But that's going to obviously hurt debuff teams that rely a lot on debuffs. That's an issue there. Like, let's say the Web Warriors. Dark Resolve 2, on enemy death, enemies gain immunity and regeneration. Same thing. Hurting teams that rely on debuffs. Resolute Foe, when one non-summoned enemy character remains in play, they gain death proof. Defense up, deflect, evade, immunity, and regen for X number of turns. I will just say that one seems like a pretty easy one to me, because if it's basically saying the last character is really hard to kill, gets all this stuff that makes it hard to kill. To me, that's actually fine, because it can give you more time to reset your cooldowns, get your cooldowns going before the next wave. So actually, and if you got the enemy down, by the way, to just one, if there's just one enemy left, it's pretty rare that you're going to be in a circumstance where you can't beat the one enemy even with all this stuff on it. So that one should be easy. Too Clever, when a player character uses their special, they gain ability block. That's brutal. That's a tough one. You would have to make it so that you have to use the ultimate before that, so that this way you would need, you would have to time this. You'd have to basically would restrict the use of the special to times where you were going to basic the next turn anyway. Bleeder, when a player character takes damage, they gain bleed. That could be sneaky bad. It depends on how hard hitting the bleeds are, but that could be very, very difficult to deal with unless you have a lot of cleanse. Blinded by power, when a player character uses their ultimate, they gain blind. That could be absolutely devastating. These seem like two of the tough ones. Devil's Bargain 2, when a player character gains ability energy, they gain defense down. That's another one that could hurt certain teams, right? You can imagine, let's say Deathpool's giving out ability energy to everyone, and then they're just the entire team's all defense down. That's 50% more incoming damage, by the way. Weak Opener, on spawn, apply disrupted to player characters. That really hurts teams that rely a lot on buffs. So that's definitely gonna hurt some teams more than others. This is one where you may want to apply that when you're using certain teams that you have built. I will say part of my thought process in putting this stuff out there for you is so you can consider for yourselves which teams you may want to build, right, to take advantage of these. No help coming, on turn, apply, and then, X number of heal blocks to player characters. All right, so you just need a cleanse to get rid of the heal blocks, I guess. Devil's Bargain 3, when a player character gains a positive effect, apply offense down. Whew, that's brutal. The End is Near, when a player character's health drops below whatever, apply percent max health. When it drops below a certain percentage max health, apply trauma to them. Oh, that sounds awful. And Not So Fast, when a player character gains ability energy, apply slow to them. That could be devastating. By the way, slow means you gain turn speed 15% less quickly. That's very difficult. Pirate Victory, when a player character blocks, apply stun to them. So your Doc Ock could literally be stunned half the match. You have to, or your Captain Sam or whatever. I See You, when a player character gains stealth, they gain taunt. So that basically that's one of the ones that they showed in the blog already. That's one that's going to just really hurt certain teams, right? Could you imagine using that with your Web Warriors and the enemy is constantly focusing miles? Dark Rally, when a player character uses their ultimate, all enemies gain. What is it? Is that ability energy? Yep, ability energy. Gloating, when any player character dies, enemies gain ability energy. Okay, well, that just, if you're over gearing this or something like that, then this one's easy because your characters aren't going to die and it's not a big deal. But this is basically, this gloating one is going to make it so, things are going to spiral out of control quickly. It's going to be less forgiving. You have one death, two deaths, like it's just going to start giving all this energy to the opposing team and they're going to roll you. Whole lot of power. Enemies generate additional ability energy each time they generate ability energy. Okay, that could be really tough on certain nodes, certain characters. Power Fatigue 2, player character special abilities cost more ability energy. Power Fatigue 1, player character ultimate abilities cost more ability energy. Another one, very, very dependent on which your team is, right? I mean, in other words, if you're using teams that don't, you're using your specials and ultimate aren't as important, aren't as necessary, then it's not a big deal. Or if you have an energy battery on your team already, then that's not as big of a deal. Weakened. Player character healing is reduced by a certain percentage. That could be devastating for certain teams. Quality minions. Summon enemies gain percent max health. Depends on the node, right? You got to think that there's some nodes that are going to make it that are punishing here. It depends this once again depends on the team. Certain teams that you're running, certain teams do very well here. I mean, it may be that if the summons are all on nodes, that aren't the nodes that aren't 5 and 10, you might be able to use characters like Axemen or symbiotes or other things to just gain from these summons, right? Late for work. A random player character is delayed from spawning until one player character dies. That is brutal. Basically means that you are playing with 4 characters instead of 5. That's tough. Phoenix stays in ashes. Player characters cannot revive. Could be not an issue for you if you are not playing with characters that have revive on them, right? It definitely means that it just makes your Dormammu worthless, but very few people have him. Poison energy 1 and 2. So let's see. Number 2 is when a player character gains ability energy, apply defense down for +1 turn per ability energy gained. Yeah, that's just 50% more damage. That's worse than it sounds, trust me. Poisoned energy 1. A player character gains ability energy. Each enemy deals extra piercing damage to him. Yeah, those are brutal. NYI out of control. Players cannot field controllers. Okay, that's a big thing because a lot of great controllers in the game. Like if you didn't know this already, there's so many characters in this game that are controllers. It's like way more than they should. Just to give you a quick sense here, you look at all these controllers: Omega Red, Doom, Cersei, Emma Frost, and so forth. So Cloak, that would really shut off a lot of possibilities for you. And that rubber player characters take X percentage of the damage they deal. This is absolutely brutal. It basically means the better team you have, you're just killing yourself. So you would have to go very high in healing to use this. It'd be very tough. Some of these just aren't going to work well with each other. I'll just tell you right now, because if, some of these ones that cause you to take in more damage, you're going to want to have a lot of healing to deal with that. Like this one, but then other ones are reducing healing. Like you can't, I think there's going to be some natural, unless you're super outgearing the difficulty you're doing, you're not going to be able to do, all of these together. Experimental serum. Enemies gain X% max health. So it looks like maybe 10, 20, 30% max health, something like that. That doesn't seem so bad. Time dampening. All turn meter modifications are reduced by X percentage. That could be okay depending on the team. Vile resurgence. On enemy turn, they gain offense up. Vile tribute. On enemy death, they gain offense up. So I think the enemy death one is better. Getting the enemy turn means that they're just gaining offense up all the time. Like 50% offense for the enemy team. This one seems like at least you're killing enemies. You have to deal with this. I don't know. You might be able to time it or have some control for when an enemy dies, but you can't control always when they get turns. Vile rally. On enemy death can clear all negative effects from enemies. Depends on your team how much that matters. Vile revenge. On enemy death, clear all positive effects from player characters. Once again, definitely very team dependent. So this is, I will say, one thing I really like about this, I'm going to give the devs a lot of credit, is this is going to provide some real value to theory crafters. It's going to favor smart players. I think this is going to give a lot of role for content creators to give tips and so forth. And, you can expect that I'm going to run through this and do that on this channel. In fact, I originally had a conversation with a dev about complaining about Cosmic Crucible, and he's like, "Oh, you're gonna love." Then if those are your complaints about Crucible, you're gonna love Scourge event, and that's true. But as I told him, not player friendly because they didn't tell us in advance what you need. Well, now you know. As best we know, I don't know if the Datamines are going to be accurate, but it sure looks like it to me. And I really want to give Doom Bunny credit for putting all this out there it takes a real community spirit to go and create this and just put it out there just because you want to help the community. And so I want to thank him for that. And I want to thank all of you. This is what this is about. To me, and I've said this to a lot of you, a lot of people are asking me, what is your channel doing now? Like, you don't really, you can't really talk about what's going on in the future. And I will say, for me, it has been a challenge in this game to give you guys guidance about what to build for the future when we know so little about what's around the corner. And hopefully this will help us a little bit, because I feel better now, at least having some sense of what's out there. My advice to you, though, is to start thinking about these, but don't commit extra resources until we know for sure. That would be my view. Like, you may think you have the perfect team, but I thought out. But I think, let's better safe than sorry. Let's wait and see what everything looks like in game. But, start planning, start thinking, start theory crafting. All right, guys, if you like this video, smash that like button, subscribe to this channel. You have comments, questions, cheers, jeers, happy, sad, angry, mad, post them below, or go to my Discord. Lots of great conversations there. You can meet people like Doom Bunny, all these great people who have great ideas and are enthusiastic about the game. Go there, or you can go to my Twitch stream. That is linked below too.